That's the only way you learn it, by having your nose in the chart, watching real-time data print. That's tape reading. No entries, no demo, nothing. No pushing of any kind of button. You need to log that real-time market price delivery. And this is the part that every single one of my unsuccessful students, just like every other teacher out there, they have students. Bruce Lee, as amazing as he was, every one of his students didn't become a Jackie Chan. Okay. They didn't become, some wildly profitable movie star or excellent tactician in martial arts. I'm no exception to that rule. Humans are human. I'm the same person today that was this goober 20-year-old that thought he's going to figure it out just by watching or reading a book that had no real insight about what the market was doing and why it would do it. I trusted squiggly lines. That's all I did. And I trusted that these people lied and said they made so much money, but they were flash in the pan wins. You don't need to be trading or jumping around. You see these folks out there, they got like 29 different Forex pairs they're following. Why? Like, more is a distraction. Okay. And here's a testimony to your maturity as a trader. Okay. And I really want you to listen to this, folks, because it has nothing to do with pride. It has nothing to do with ego. This is where the rubber meets the road. Because when I first started, I thought I had to track every single fucking commodity there is. And it drove me nuts. I had to make my own individual charts. I had to put a dot on a bar and to put a dot on a little graph paper. Okay. And they were all dots. I had to literally rough eyeball where that high and low would be on a paper chart, printed one time a week and delivered to my house. Okay, commodity price charts is what this was. I had to draw my open, high, low, and close for every fucking commodity that I was worrying about. Every single day. That's how I did it. Okay, that's what we had to do. You guys are all spoiled. And you think because you have all that luxury of click a button, you have everything pop up on your chart, you think that's an advantage. It's not. That's not an advantage. It's actually a distraction. The people that do exceptionally well, unless you are a long-term trend follower, there's really no need to be following 20-some markets. You don't need to do that. That's stupid. You would be better suited to being a specialist to one or two markets. That's exactly how I teach it. When I was teaching FX, it was the pound, the euro, coupled with the dollar. So that was our triad. Okay, 3 markets that are closely correlated. Dollar's going to do one thing. Pound and the euro would do the opposite. And you look for that little crack in correlation. Okay. When it creates that and you have a bias and a narrative, it's easy. If you don't have that, you do nothing. Well, if you feel like you have to have a lot of markets to be tracking, see, the adage is more monitors, more markets to follow means you're professionally minded. That's horseshit. That's horseshit, and that is all image stuff, okay? The people that make the fucking money are the people that have a specialty in one or two markets, and that's it. They don't give a flying fuck what's going on in any other market. They don't care about that stuff. They don't care about who thinks their other markets that they're trading are not as good as them. Who cares? They don't care. They're making money. And when you make money, you're not going to give a flying flip what anybody else thinks about what market you should be trading to. Then you're going to understand why I was telling everybody in 2012 all the way through 2017. And yes, I knew the market was going to go up to 20,000. I told you when it was going to happen. And no, I didn't trade it. And no, I don't have a regret. I can find big moves every single year, as you're going to learn in 2023. You're not going to be subservient to anyone, least of all me. If I'm not teaching you to be independent, I'm not a good mentor. I'm not trying to be glad-handed to all of you. I have my own life. My wife wants to spend time with me, okay? I know it sounds hard to believe, but I'm a likable kind of guy, okay? In the real world, my wife wants to be with me, okay? And I'm trying to do my best to make that easy so that way I don't feel tugged back to all of you, because there's a lot of you that are struggling, and I know. And it's mostly the people outside my private group. So I'm giving you a gift, okay? I'm giving you a gift of my entire year, my focus, and I'm giving it to you for absolutely for free. And I want you all to succeed. But I want you to go in with the right mindset of knowing that you're learning how to read price, how to find setups, and then you're going to find what market you like. And you're not going to give a shit about which one I'm trading. You may learn by using the ES and the NASDAQ this year with me, and you say, you know what? I'm going to take what I learned and I'm going to go right back to the Eurodollar. Well, God bless you if that's what you're going to do. That's fine. Don't let me tell you otherwise. I personally don't want to touch Forex, and I've touched on the reasons why the entirety of this year. But if you feel comfortable taking on that risk, don't let anybody change your mind about it. Don't feel any kind of adversity or second guessing, nothing. None of that should have any influence on your decision making on what markets you're going to trade. Because I'm telling you, the richest people in these markets are the ones that have one or two markets at best. The biggest guys out there that trade just stocks, they only have a handful of stocks. And when I say handful, 2, 3, maybe 4 at most. But they know those fucking stocks like the back of their hands. They know the highs and the lows of yesterday, 3 days ago. They know those markets. They know them. They live and breathe them. You want to be a specialist. That lesson, one of the folks that have blessed me this holiday season, there's so many of you, and I just want to add this in here. I've received a lot of cards, letters. I've received gifts. Some of them are very, very nice. Too much, really, for me. I was very surprised to see some of the stuff that you guys sent to me. One of the individuals sent me a DVD version of Larry Williams' course. I told you about coming up. I had a VHS 4 tape thing from him, and I had an opportunity to sit down with Caleb in our theater, and I played it. The transfer from VHS to what they did when they dubbed it, it's not as clear as I remember the VHS being. It is what it is, right? But watching it, and I could say verbatim what he was going to say beforehand, and Caleb was like, "Man, when's the last time you watched this?" I said, "Honestly, shit, like 18 years, maybe 19 years." That's a long time to know still verbatim what the man's going to say. That's how many times I watched it. So when he talked about the section in there to be a specialist, I turned to my son, Caleb. I said, "Can you see where I got that from?" Now, when I first heard him say this in 1995, that's when I bought that VHS course. He made the video course in August of 1994 in a little workshop that he filmed with Trade Winds. And then it was put on the market. And because I bought this Yahoo's course, didn't cause me to lose my money, not knowing what the hell I was doing, taking stupid gambling and an orange juice option. By buying that guy's course, the mailing list that he was building, Larry Williams was a purchaser of it. And then I ended up getting Larry Williams shit sent to me in the mail. I was like, well, shit, I'm going to buy his stuff. He made $10,000 turn to $1.2 million in a year. Hey, I want to learn from that guy. And then when I listened to him say this particular thing in 1995, now mind you, this is the 3rd year of my trading coming up. And the things that course and the subsequent interest in buying every book that he put out, that particular moment where he says in that course, the VHS, I was listening to him when my son and I were listening to it just a week ago. He says, "You want to be a specialist." When I first heard it in 1995, it went in one ear out the other. Because in my mind, what I took away from his course and his materials was, all right, what Larry's telling me as a fledgling student is I need to be in here trading every one of these fucking markets, and I'm going to catch all the big moves. I'm going to be in every one of them. If coffee's going to go up, I'm going to be in that one. If sugar's going to be, I'm going to be in all of them. But I didn't have the margin to be in any of those. I had to be out of certain markets because I didn't have enough money in my account to even meet the initial margin to trade them. When I first started trading, I didn't have enough margin to even touch an S&P contract. Think about that. And here I was, 20-some years old, thinking, I got to watch all these markets. And I literally was updating the charts for palladium and platinum, pork bellies. What? But that's how I was. I was going hard. I wanted to make sure nobody was going to question me and my tenacity and my desire to be good at this. And I didn't listen. I did not listen to what that man said in that freaking video that made the best impact in my learning curve. When I reduced all the bullshit down to one or two markets, what were they? The S&P and the bond market. Once I started doing that, and I didn't give fuck all what the grain markets did. I didn't care what the meats were doing, live cattle, lean hogs and things like that. They're great markets. There's nothing wrong with them per se, but there's better markets to trade, especially if you're in there looking for short-term setups. And because of my infancy as a trader and just a total neophyte, a goober by all definitions of the word, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I couldn't appreciate the good logic that he was sharing, much like some of you. When you listen to me, you think I'm full of shit about certain things. You go out and you try other stuff, or you try doing it sooner. You hurt yourself. Then you come back remorseful thinking, okay, I've been humbled. Let me listen to the man. And all of a sudden now you learn. Okay. Well, that's what had to happen to me. But when I'm talking to you like this, I don't want you to feel like you have to go through the same shit that I went through, and other people that like that same mindset thinking they're going to be the exception. So I turned to my son, Caleb, and I smiled to him. I said, do you see where I got that from? That moment right there, I had to come back after my fifth account, as a 20-year-old, thought I knew what the hell I was doing. And when I was doing it the right way, I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to do more, and pushed and pushed and pushed, and I'd blow the account. And I was trying to do too many other things. I wanted to be in the metals. And instead of just picking the one metal to be in, I was trying to be in platinum, palladium, and high-grade copper. For what? That's dumb. If you're going to be a metals trader, trade silver or gold. Done. If you want something that's going to be a mega trade, if high-grade copper goes into a premium, and what I mean by that is the nearby contracts sell for more now than they do in the future. That's a backwardization. It's a reversal of a carrying charge market. That whole premise, and I'll talk about this in the core content, which I learned specifically directly right from Larry Williams, and shit still works today. If anybody tells you it doesn't work, they're full of shit. That stuff is, that's the brass tacks. Okay. If you're going to be a commodities trader, if you don't know about that, then you don't know what you're doing. But the point is, I told my son Caleb, I said, that moment of losing multiple accounts and realizing that I'm doing too much. I was successful here and there and had stints of progress and equity increase. And then all of a sudden when I was trying to do more, why? Because I saw some asshole on America Online. He had his little stupid ass webpage. It was dumb. You think my webpage is generic and stupid. This guy was even worse. He had a picture of a hammock. Okay. Like a cartoon hammock, and Dean Caribbean Trader. That was his thing. Okay. And you click on his shit and you read his newsletter. And that's what we did back then, was newsletters. And I was like, he's saying he made $15,000 trading the S&P yesterday. Now, I didn't see this man take this trade. He's not even showing a fucking chart. Like, he's not doing anything. He just said he did it. So here I am, gullible Huddleston. I'm thinking, okay, well, this guy, I got to do this too. So I'm now going to go into the S&P. Now, mind you, I've been initially trained by Larry Williams, Mr. S&P himself. That wasn't enough of an influence. I had to see this goober, okay, that just said he made 15,000 and 12,000 and 8,000. When he had losses, it was only like $150 or $200. So I'm thinking to myself, this guy knows something. That shit was me trying to run up with somebody else on social media. Now, that was the beginning infant stages of social media. Okay, America Online, that was we the whole dollar, modem, the handshaking that modems used to do, all that stuff, charging you by the minute type shit. That kind of experience, we were cowboys, mavericks in the internet. Like everybody now, little kids and like our nieces, they're small. They have cell phones. They have the iPhone and shit, and to me, I think they're too young to have it. But hey, they're not my kid. It's not my business, but I can talk to you because I'm not around them, and their mother, whatever. It is what it is, right? Everybody's got their own opinion. But back in the 90s, that's when the internet was born, right? And that whole influence of social media, because I was young, I was very impressionable because I've had this chip on my shoulder. I had to prove myself. I had to prove myself. So when I saw this guy out here, all he was doing was typing that he did this. Never showed a chart, just did the whole thing. And I'm thinking to myself, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to do that. And if I'm having an impact on you wanting to be like me, like when I shared that trade today, or anytime I share a trade, I want you to think about the logic that I'm doing. Don't look at what I'm showing as a trade result. Don't let that be the driver. Let the management, the placement of my entry, and the stop management, and where I take partials, let that be the driver for what you want to try to be like me with. Take the money out of it. Okay. The whole business of having that money there, that is the little hook that I use. Now, I don't advertise. Okay. But when I was on Twitter years ago, I would literally do this over and over and over again, show example after example. And these other people that have a whole lot more subscribers than me, that would claim to be brilliant tacticians and traders that, trade this and trade that, you would never see them execute on anything, but they had the biggest mouth. So I challenged them all the time. I'd stand right in front of them and say, look, here, I'm the wrecking ball. I'm here. I'm the wrecking ball. Okay. Not some guy down in Texas. I am. And when I stood in front of every one of them, they either blocked me or just made fun of the fact that it was demo. I was like, it can be demo. I'm going to show you what the market's going to do. You show me what you're doing. I'll stand out here and be the clown and show you with a demo that you can't even come close to what I'm doing. And you can use your live account results. And it never panned out. They never would do it. But it hurt me. It made me chase shit that I should have had no business messing around with and believing people that had no reason to be believed. So when I teach and I show my examples, this is why I share it to you publicly. Because if I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, I couldn't replicate this stuff. On TradingView, they just added this little